The deeper you think, the more it begins to rot something inside you, a quiet knowing that this world, as it stands, was never designed for minds like yours. You spot patterns in the static, hear meaning in the noise, and sense a hollowness behind the curtain of normalcy. And in that awareness comes the weight, not just of being different, but of being punished for it. Society doesn't just ignore intelligence, it resents it. It smiles at obedience, rewards mediocrity, and vilifies anyone who dares to see through the illusions. This isn't dysfunction, it's design. From the moment you begin to question the fabric of your reality, the resistance begins. At school, curiosity is replaced with conformity. In adulthood, critical thought is quietly buried under the weight of social niceties and endless distraction. The media floods your senses with noise, not by accident, but as a smokescreen. Reality. TV, viral challenges, outrage culture, all of it engineered to keep your mind docile, unfocused, and reactive. What was once curiosity is labeled arrogance. Independence becomes antisocial, and so you learn to bite your tongue, to dilute your thoughts, to smile through the dissonance. You become fluent in the language of silence. But the truth doesn't die just because it's inconvenient. It festers. It gnaws at the edges of your psyche. Intelligent people, truly intelligent people, not those merely skilled at rote memorization, don't merely think more, they feel more. They suffer more. To see clearly in a world that profits from blindness is to live in a state of perpetual exile. You talk in concepts, others respond with feelings. You reach for truth, others cling to comfort. You wonder why the loneliness won't go away. But it's not personal, it's structural. Society is not built to accommodate depth. It is engineered to level you out, to grind down your edges until you resemble the average. Why? Because the average is predictable, and the predictable is profitable. Nietzsche once wrote that he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But what happens when your why is systematically erased, mocked, or turned into a marketable product? You become disoriented, existing but not living. And slowly, as if by design, intelligence begins to isolate. You find yourself at parties where conversations orbit celebrity gossip and last night's game. You sit across from people whose attention drifts with every buzz of their phone. You reach for something, connection, understanding, a spark, but grasp only air. The alienation isn't a glitch. It's the architecture of modern life. You are not alone because you're broken. You're alone because the world prefers things that don't ask too many questions. The idiocracy effect is no longer just satire. It's a lived reality. In 2006, Idiocracy warned us of a culture spiraling into stupidity. But what it failed to predict was the elegance of our descent. We didn't fall headfirst into ignorance. We slid into it, seduced by convenience, numbed by dopamine hits, and softened by ideologies that confuse comfort for virtue. Schopenhauer warned that the more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him. Today, existence is stripped of mystery, reduced to algorithms and slogans, and flattened by our own refusal to think. The average attention span has fallen to less than that of a goldfish. But this isn't a failure of biology. It's a victory of design. A society driven by profit does not want you to think. It wants you to consume. It doesn't want you to contemplate your suffering. It wants you to medicate it. Gabor Mate has said that addiction is not about substances, but about pain. In that light, our addiction to entertainment, validation, scrolling and outrage is not shallow. It is a cry, a symptom of our disconnection from ourselves, from each other, from truth. We are living in an era where depth is dangerous, where self-awareness threatens the market, where empathy slows productivity. So the system offers you substitutes, shallow pleasures, tribal identities, easy outrage. It teaches you to feel smarter without being wiser, more connected without being seen, more informed without knowing a damn thing. It gives you the illusion of agency while keeping you numb, distracted, docile. And yet here you are, reading this. Thinking. Feeling that strange burn in your chest that says something isn't right. That is your mind resisting. That is your soul remembering. But the choice, as always, is yours. Stay numb or wake up. Sleepwalk through life or tear at the curtain. Conform or confront. Most will never choose the path of awareness. It's brutal, it's isolating. It offers no guarantees. But it is real. And in a world of masks, that alone is a kind of salvation. Are you willing to carry that burden? Why? Because modern technology has quietly rewired the architecture of the human mind. Social media, short-form content, and the infinite scroll weren't just innovations, they were psychological weapons, conditioning us to crave immediacy over depth, stimulation over reflection. The dopamine rush of a like, a comment, a new post, it all trains the brain to seek fast rewards, to avoid anything requiring effort, patience, or silence. In a world of 15-second videos and bite-sized narratives, focused, sustained thought becomes an anomaly, if not an outright liability. And that's the point. Education, once the art of thinking, has become the science of obedience. Schools are not temples of wisdom, but factories of compliance. Children are no longer taught to question or challenge. They are taught to memorize and regurgitate. Creativity is measured in rubrics. Curiosity is managed with hall passes. Dissent is pathologized. The goal? Not to raise minds that can build new worlds, but to create workers who will never question the one they're given. The result is generations of people who've been taught what to think, but not how to think. Information is absorbed without analysis. Headlines become doctrine. Opinions are recycled without evidence, delivered with certainty, but empty of understanding. And worst of all, emotion now trumps logic. Modern news isn't crafted to inform. It's engineered to provoke. Outrage is the currency. Fear is the product. Emotion hijacks reason because it's faster, easier, and more profitable. The algorithms don't care if you understand the world. They care that you react to it. Anger gets clicks. Outrage gets shares. And slowly, without ever realizing it, we lose our ability to think critically, to hold ambiguity, to explore nuance. This is not progress. It's a regression into the primitive, and for the intelligent, those cursed with the compulsion to see beyond the veil, this descent into intellectual darkness feels unbearable. Boredom becomes chronic. You grasp complex ideas in seconds while others need hours. Conversations drag. Routines feel suffocating. Entertainment is predictable, formulaic, insultingly simple. Your mind hungers for stimulation, philosophical inquiry, intellectual risk, cognitive challenge, but finds only the thin gruel of trending topics and algorithm-approved distractions. And so you begin to starve. Forming deep connections becomes almost impossible. You long for conversations that expand your mind, that press against your cognitive boundaries, but you're met with superficiality, evasion, and defensiveness. You start dumbing yourself down just to belong. Or worse, you isolate completely, concluding that it's easier to be alone than to live diluted. And then comes the exhaustion, the mental drain of constantly slowing down to explain the obvious. The frustration of seeing connections others miss. The fatigue of holding your tongue when a shallow consensus swallows complexity. Over time, you learn to either mask your intelligence or wear your frustration like armor. But both paths carry a cost. Either you betray yourself to fit in, or you turn bitter from the solitude. This is the intelligence trap. The world needs brilliant minds, yet it punishes them. It buries them under conformity, silences them with distraction, and mocks them with labels: difficult, arrogant, disconnected. It's not that society fears intelligence. It fears what intelligence demands: change, challenge, revolution. And so it builds systems to sedate you, to keep you emotionally engaged but intellectually disengaged, smart enough to operate the machine, but not enough to question its existence. The result is a society that rewards compliance and penalizes depth. A culture that feeds off emotional reactivity while starving reason. A civilization that boasts of progress while murdering introspection. And if you don't learn to see this, truly see it, you risk becoming its next casualty. You've probably asked yourself, why does the world feel so slow, so dull, so allergic to truth? The answer is as bleak as it is liberating, because intelligence is subversive. Independent thought threatens the delicate order of control. Brilliance questions hierarchies, defies tradition, and refuses to accept that what is must always be. And a system built on predictability cannot tolerate minds that evolve faster than its rules. The system does not want thinkers, it wants repeaters. It does not reward vision, it rewards obedience. It does not care for insight, it craves loyalty. And it has perfected its mechanisms: weaponized distraction, performative politics, consumer pacification, and a culture that confuses convenience for freedom. But here's the unspoken truth. The curse of intelligence is also its power. Because once you see the game, you can choose to stop playing it. You can build in the shadows what the world refuses to see. You can use your clarity, your pain, your alienation, not as wounds, but as tools. The very qualities that make you suffer in this system are the ones that make you capable of transcending it, but only if you dare. The art of keeping intelligent people trapped, distracted, and powerless isn't a coincidence. It's a design. And the tragedy is, most never realize it. From the moment you're capable of independent thought, you're placed in a society that quietly declares war on your mind. Not because you're dangerous with a weapon, but because you're dangerous with awareness. You're dangerous when you begin to think beyond the script. So the system, this vast, subtle machinery, deploys three primary weapons against your awakening. First, misdirection. They flood your consciousness with distraction. You wake up and your phone is already screaming. Notifications, trending. Topics, dopamine hits disguised as content. You're fed short videos, engineered rage-bait headlines, viral nonsense with no depth. Every corner of your day is padded with noise. This isn't an accident, it's a sedative. A high-tech lobotomy dressed up as entertainment. When was the last time you sat in silence without reaching for a device? When did you last read something that made you uncomfortable in a necessary way, not for distraction but for elevation? The modern world starves the intellect while pretending to nourish it. And like Schopenhauer warned, we confuse stimulation with fulfillment. Our minds, like muscles unused, atrophy. The tragedy is that we've come to fear silence more than stupidity. Second, psychological warfare. If distraction doesn't kill your clarity, distortion will. The system convinces you that your difference is a defect, that your questioning is a pathology, that your sensitivity is weakness. If you're intelligent, you've likely heard the same phrases echoed back for years. You're too intense. You're overthinking it. Why can't you just be normal? But what is normal except the average of collective neuroses made sacred by repetition? In a culture that rewards conformity, the thinker is always made to feel like the madman. As Jung wrote, society often labels its prophets as lunatics simply because they see too far. Children who question authority are not nurtured. They're punished. Teenagers who speak out are medicated. Adults who rebel are quietly excluded. We are not encouraged to become ourselves. We are coerced into becoming manageable. So you shrink, you slow your thoughts down, you play dumb to avoid rejection. You wear the mask, not because it fits, but because it keeps you from being devoured. And over time, you forget who you were beneath it. The system doesn't need to cage you if it can convince you to lock the door from the inside. Third, economic control. Even if you wake up, if you see the puppet strings, recognize the lies, Resist the gaslighting. The system still has its final leash, money. If you're always worrying about rent, bills, or survival, how will you have time to revolt? How will you write the book, start the movement, build the vision? You won't. You'll chase a paycheck instead of purpose. You'll trade your soul for a salary. This is no accident. Student debt, 40-plus hour work weeks, inflated costs of living. They aren't just unfortunate byproducts, they're intentional shackles. When you're exhausted, you don't resist, you submit. As Gabor Mate often reminds us, trauma and stress make people easier to control. An overworked, underslept population doesn't have time for philosophy. It has just enough energy to obey. This is why true power lies with those who own their time. The wealthiest don't obey the system, they own it. They are not subject to the machinery of survival. They are free to think, to create, to disrupt. Meanwhile, the intelligent poor are left with insight but no outlet. A mind capable of deep vision, trapped in a life of shallow repetition. And here's the cruel irony. If intelligence is such a strength, why doesn't the world reward it? Why doesn't the system nurture it? Because intelligence is a threat. The world is not built for wisdom. It's built for predictability. Governments, corporations, even educational institutions, they don't thrive on brilliance. They thrive on compliance. They need people who follow orders, not people who question the script. Innovation is dangerous. Intelligence is volatile. It breaks the pattern, exposes the illusion, destabilizes the order. Nietzsche warned of this in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, that society will always resist the one who attempts to transcend it. The free thinker, the self-overcomer, is seen not as a hero but a heretic. The most brilliant minds are often exiled, ignored, or silenced. Not because they are wrong, but because they threaten the comfort of those who cling to the known. And, in the corporate world, the pattern repeats. Raw intelligence isn't valued, obedience is. It's not the brilliant who rise, but the agreeable, those who master the art of playing dumb in the right rooms. The real game isn't about merit, it's about manipulation. Ask yourself, when did corporate hierarchies become more about survival than innovation? When did workplaces stop being spaces for thought and become theaters of performance? We live in a time where being smart is only rewarded if it serves the system, if you ask the right questions, but never the dangerous ones. If you innovate within the boundaries, but never challenge the foundation. And so the cycle continues. The intelligent soul is born, awakened, and slowly crushed, unless it chooses the painful path of divergence, unless it is willing to risk comfort for clarity, acceptance for authenticity, survival for transformation. Because if there's one thing the system truly fears, it's not chaos. It's the awakened mind that refuses to kneel. Those who go along with the system, who nod politely, who memorize the rules instead of rewriting them, are rewarded not for brilliance, but for obedience. And the brilliant thinkers who dare to disrupt the norm, they are ignored, dismissed, sometimes even exiled. The truth is this: real intelligence rarely survives the system intact, not because it fails, but because it refuses to submit. Corporations don't want visionaries, they want predictability. The sharper your mind, the more dangerous you become to a machine built on uniformity. If you think too much, question too deeply, act too independently, you are a liability. And liabilities are quietly removed. The ones who rise are not the bold, they're the agreeable. The ones who speak the language of the system fluently while silencing their own. Intelligence becomes a curse when not accompanied by submission. And education, what we so proudly call learning, is no better. Ask yourself, when did school ever reward real thinking? It doesn't. It rewards obedience disguised as intelligence. The industrial-era school system was never about expanding minds. It was about standardizing them. Sit down, stay quiet, memorize, repeat, never challenge the curriculum, never stray too far from the lesson plan. In fact, the more curious a child is, the more likely they are to be labeled a problem. Independent thought is pathologized, ADHD, oppositional defiance, lack of focus. But what if the child isn't broken? What if the system is? As Jean-Paul Sartre argued, freedom is terrifying. And in a culture designed to fear the unpredictable, freedom of thought becomes a threat. By the time most students graduate, they've been conditioned not to think for themselves, but to defer to experts, to systems, to structures. Education becomes the art of forgetting who you are and memorizing who you're supposed to be. And yet, intelligent people still feel alone. Why? Because they are. If you possess a mind that operates even one standard deviation above the average, you're living in a different psychological reality. The IQ gap between 130 and 100 is immense. It's not a gentle slope, it's a chasm. The same chasm that separates an average person from someone clinically impaired. And yet we pretend we're all having the same conversation. You're not just ahead, you're out of sync. You speak in patterns others don't see. You intuit what others miss. And instead of being seen, you're often misunderstood, mocked, resented. The world feels slow, irrational, painfully shallow, and that's because in many ways it is. As Dostoevsky warned, consciousness is a disease when the world demands unconscious obedience. This is the intelligence trap. You see through the illusions, but the illusions still cage you. You're awake in a world that's sleepwalking. And worse, the system doesn't just fail to support you, it turns you against yourself. It isolates you. It gaslights you into thinking you are the problem, but you are not broken. You are simply awake in a dream that punishes awareness. But there is a way out. And it begins with the refusal to play the game. The lie is seductive. Work harder, prove yourself, be patient. The system will eventually reward you. But that's a myth sold to the compliant. If success were about intelligence alone, the world would look radically different. The most brilliant minds would be the wealthiest, most powerful, most respected. But we know that's not true. The most rewarded are often the most obedient, the most politically skilled, the most willing to bend. Why? Because intelligence isn't rewarded unless it serves the system. If your ideas make money for a corporation, but don't threaten authority, you'll be tolerated. If your mind can be used to optimize a machine, you'll be paid, but never truly free. But if your intelligence questions the machine itself, if it threatens the illusion, it will be ridiculed, sidelined, or destroyed. This is the hard truth. Intelligence alone is useless. It is not enough to be aware, you must be strategic. A sword without a hand to wield it is just dead steel, and that's where leverage comes in. Leverage is power. It's what allows the few to control the many. It's what makes the difference between the intelligent who suffer and the intelligent who escape. There are three critical forms of leverage, and the first is psychological. Stop seeking permission. This is the first rebellion. No one is coming. No one will discover you, validate you, or crown you. If you're waiting for the system to recognize your brilliance, you'll rot waiting. The job you think values you will use you until you are no longer profitable. The system you think will promote you will elevate someone more docile. You are not undervalued. You are deliberately ignored. Stop asking for permission to be powerful. Stop waiting for the right time to act. Stop seeking approval from people who couldn't comprehend your vision if they tried. If Nietzsche's Übermensch taught us anything, it's that the only authority that matters is the one you build within yourself. Declare your worth, not because others agree, but because you do. 2. Master true leverage. Leverage is what breaks the chains. It multiplies your value without multiplying your time. Those who escape the system don't work harder, they build smarter. They create systems that function without their constant input. They publish, they automate, they scale. They don't trade hours for dollars, they trade strategy for freedom. Understand, a single idea, well leveraged, can outwork 10 years of obedient labor. The system teaches you to grind. Leverage teaches you to escape. And this begins with shifting your mindset from laborer to architect, from pawn to player. Build ownership. The final form of leverage is ownership. The wealthy don't trade time, they own assets. They own platforms, products, systems, IP, networks. They own the means by which value is created and distributed. You must too. This doesn't mean you must be rich tomorrow, but it means you must begin thinking like an owner. Start building, start creating, write, code, record, teach. Build a body of work the system cannot take from you. Your job is a leash. Your craft is a weapon. Use it. And here's the quiet miracle. Once you stop waiting for the system's approval, it begins to lose its grip. You stop being a cog and become a catalyst. You stop conforming and start creating, and slowly, the trap you were born into begins to open. Not because it changed, but because you did. The most successful people don't work for others. They build systems, structures that generate wealth and autonomy independently. It's not about clocking in for a paycheck or grinding away for an hourly wage. Success lies in the ability to create something that produces value on its own, something that doesn't require constant effort to maintain. Whether it's starting a company, investing in assets, or building a product that scales, success is rooted in self-sufficiency. Those who are truly intelligent don't waste their time on menial, repetitive tasks. They automate, delegate, outsource. These are the moves of the people who understand that time is a finite resource, and the real value comes from focusing on higher-level strategy. To toil every day at the same tasks that drain energy and creativity, is to live in a state of inefficiency. It's to remain in a trap. But beyond intellect, real power lies in influence. It's not about being the smartest in the room. It's about being the one who knows how to weave through power structures. Those who know how to connect with others, building networks and relationships, are the ones who gain access to opportunities that others only dream of. It's leverage at its finest. The ability to bend circumstances in your favor without ever needing to be the one doing all the work. To master leverage is to understand systems, not to be enslaved by them. And perhaps most crucially, the path to freedom and true success lies in rewriting the rules. Everything you've been told about success is a lie, a script designed to keep you tethered to mediocrity. Go to school, get good grades, get a safe job, and if you follow this path diligently, success will somehow reward you in the end. But this is the greatest deceit ever sold to humanity. The ones who truly break free are the ones who reject this programming. They don't chase degrees, they chase knowledge, skills that actually matter. They don't wait for promotions. They carve their own path, create opportunities where there were none, and instead of hoping that the system will reward them, they learn how to manipulate the system to work for them. Once you stop playing by the rules designed to keep you in line, you begin to realize how much power you truly possess. But escaping the system is more than a matter of strategy. It's about energy. Too many believe that success is about having intelligence, talent, or sheer effort. But in truth, it's all about how you manage your energy. The people who truly thrive don't just work harder or smarter. They manage their vitality with precision. A sharp mind demands a strong body, and if your body is weak, tired, or unhealthy, it pulls down your mental clarity. That's why the most successful individuals treat their physical health as a non-negotiable. They exercise daily to boost energy, focus, and cognitive function. They eat with intention, fueling their minds and bodies with nutrients that serve. They're not empty calories. Sleep is sacred because a mind devoid of rest is an ineffective one. When your body is weak, your mind is shackled. This balance between physical and mental health is what separates the truly successful from the rest. Success doesn't come from mindless scrolling or distracting entertainment. The greatest minds guard their mental energy fiercely. They eliminate distractions. They don't react to every little pull of attention. They decide what deserves focus and energy. They train themselves to concentrate on deep, meaningful work rather than scattering their efforts across 1,000 small distractions. In a world built on distraction, the ability to focus is the most powerful asset. Emotional energy is equally vital. Stop seeking validation from those who cannot comprehend you. One of the greatest traps intelligent people fall into is explaining themselves to others who will never understand them. The world is built on shallow approval, and the more you seek validation from those who are not on your intellectual wavelength, the more you trap yourself in the system. The world will never validate you because intelligence is a threat to the structure of society. It's a threat to the powers that be. Once you stop needing that validation, you become untouchable. The moment you stop lowering your standards, stop trying to fit in with those who cannot grasp your vision, is the moment you reclaim your true power. By now, you should see the game for what it is. The system is a cage designed to suppress independent thought and creativity, to keep those who think too deeply in check. The cruel reality that most won't accept is that you cannot change the system from the inside. You can't dismantle the walls that have been built up over centuries, but you can outgrow them. The system isn't going to reward you for being brilliant, for challenging its conventions. It will never open doors for you because you have original ideas. No, the world does not shift to accommodate intelligence. Instead, intelligent people must shift how they engage with the world. And that begins with the realization that you must create your own reality. The reason so many intelligent people feel suffocated is that they're trying to make sense of success within a system that was never meant for them. They're trying to find meaning, purpose, and validation in a world that will never understand them. That ends now. If you want to escape, you must stop trying to adapt to the system. You must start building your own path. And that requires 3 fundamental shifts. The first shift is perhaps the most urgent: finding the right people. If you're surrounded by small minds, shallow thinkers who cannot see beyond their immediate surroundings, your own intelligence will suffocate. It will shrink. It will be forced into submission just so you can fit in. The isolation of intellectual growth isn't one of loneliness. It's one of stagnation when you're surrounded by those who cannot challenge you. To grow, you must align with others who see the world differently. People who can help you. Expand, not contract. Look around. Do the people you surround yourself with support your growth, or are they pulling you back into their own version of the system? The system isn't a set of laws or rules you can outsmart. It's a force that thrives on keeping you in line. The real challenge is not fighting against it, but finding a way to transcend it. Only then can you write your own script and begin to see your true potential unleashed. Who do you spend your time with? Are they the kind of people who challenge you, inspire you, and force you to think beyond the limits that society has imposed on you? Or are they the ones who drain you, who keep you stagnant, who dismiss your ideas because they can't comprehend them? If you find yourself surrounded by the latter, you must leave. You need to find your tribe, the people who think at your level, who see the world in high resolution, who aren't afraid to engage with complexity. Intelligence doesn't thrive in isolation. It thrives in collaboration. Once you have the right people around you, everything else becomes inevitable. You will be forced to create independent wealth. Stop relying on jobs that suppress your intellect. Here's the truth. As long as you rely on the system for your survival, you will never be free. Working for someone else means being at their mercy. Your time, energy, creativity all belong to them. The second you begin to think independently, to challenge the status quo, you become a liability. And that's exactly why intelligent people must build their own wealth. Money is not just currency. It's freedom, it's control, it's the power to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. The wealthiest, most powerful people in history didn't climb corporate ladders. They built their own empires. They created systems, investments, and assets that generated wealth on their own terms. So ask yourself, are you working to survive, or are you working to escape? Because until you break free from financial dependence, your intelligence will always be just a tool for someone else's benefit. Next comes the crucial step. Use your intelligence to control systems, not to be controlled by them. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who follow systems and those who create them. Most people operate within systems they don't even understand. They follow rules handed down to them without question, obey structures they don't even realize exist. But the truly powerful, those who are not shackled by the system, are the ones who create the rules. They understand how systems work so they can manipulate them to their advantage. If you're intelligent, you already see patterns that others miss. You understand how things connect, how power flows, how incentives shape behavior. The real question is, are you using that intelligence to build systems that serve you, or are you allowing others to use your intelligence to strengthen their own? The system will always be there. It's too entrenched to be dismantled. But you have two choices: play the game within someone else's rules or design your own. That's what separates those who break free from those who remain trapped. There's a war on intelligence. The world does not want people who think too deeply. Deep thought leads to revolution. The system doesn't want individuals who question authority, because questions dismantle control. Society doesn't celebrate intelligence. It tolerates it, restricts it, and when necessary, destroys it. But here's the secret. You don't have to engage in that war directly. You just have to escape it. Once you realize that the system cannot be changed from within, you stop trying to fix it. Instead, you focus on freeing yourself from it. Find your tribe. The right people will elevate you. Create independent wealth because money gives you freedom. Learn how to control systems. Stop following rules. Start designing them. The system isn't your enemy. It's simply a structure that exists, and you no longer need to participate in it. Most people will never reach this level of understanding. They will remain trapped in distractions, psychological warfare, and economic chains they don't even recognize. But you're different. You've seen the truth, and once you see it, you can never go back. The next move is yours. Will you continue to play the game that was never designed for you, or will you begin to build a reality of your own?